All right, Matt, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Again.
Yes. Keep getting invited back. How's that
happen? What I'm doing.
Yeah. Again, the weeks are blurring. It's insane. So couple things first. Knicks championship, unbelievable.
Awesome.
Phenomenal.
Just
right?
so good for the city and for people and for unification, like all the things that we stand for. Again, there's bad, and you could choose to focus on. Like,
you mean like repping the school bus and ripping the hood
those
off?
are limited experiences, and I just think generally, oh my God, what a good feeling!
Phenomenal.
The parade tomorrow morning, I can't even imagine record numbers.
Yeah, and just like the World Cup and what's happened with the World Cup, where you look at the countries. Like yesterday, it was funny because Croatia's playing England today, huge game. But it's like the Croatia's taking over Dallas. Like it's just the funniest thing.
It's so
and the best
cool.
wedding I've ever been to. I have a good friend who's Croatian. And best wedding I've ever been to is that wedding. It never ended.
That's awesome.
Just kept getting extended and extending.
It's like the cultural differences are so awesome. I can't imagine the last time there were that many, well, probably never, Croatians in Texas.
Yeah,
right? Just in any general sense. And I think about
they've taken it over, and Scotland took over Boston. My favorite part is how they outdrank the bar,
What about the cleanliness of the locker rooms, by the way, post the games? Like, I mean, there's so many things that are, I would say, like enjoyable to learn from the other cultures. And it's like, wow, they really care.
Oh, I know. Like, did you see like the Japan fans are cleaning up?
That's what I meant. That's what I was referring to.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Like, that is a good human thing.
So it's just wonderful to see just, what the human spirit is capable of doing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Speaking of the human spirit and what it's capable of, with the comeback wins that the Knicks have. If that didn't teach people a lesson about
don't give up.
Being an underdog at any point, in any time, at any point in your life, at any point in anything you're doing, and the ability to just stay strong to what you know and stick to it. It's the truth. I mean, that stat is incredible to me that the Spurs led 72% of the time. Right.
And they only won one game.
I know.
It's like crazy. I mean,
funny to see the way Wemby put it. We dominated that series.
Yeah. I know he's got a lot to learn.
In some measures.
He's got a lot to learn. I mean, he's incredibly gifted, but they'll have to work on a few things.
There's learning, for all of us.
Yeah. I was thinking back to Jordan. Like, we were really blessed to see him.
Yeah,
I mean,
without a doubt. I mean, he was a killer.
He was a killer. Killer instinct. Kobe was a killer instinct.
Yes.
Jalen Brunson's killer instinct.
Yeah. Again, we could go into this forever, but like I would look and I'd be like, ill-advised shot.
Yeah.
Goes in. I'm like, he knows his game.
He got mauled.
Oh,
the difference mauled. I mean, the difference between, I think, Jalen Brunson and the other guys is Jalen Brunson doesn't have the superstar referee calls.
Right.
Like, he just doesn't.
Yeah.
LeBron. I mean, he just doesn't.
That's a foul, by the way.
Yeah,
his name. That's a foul. Right. He gets a whistle for that.
But like, it's just so unfair because he was getting manhandled every time he's like has the ball. It's like you could legitimately probably say there's a foul.
Of course, I can't believe the amount of contact they allowed him bringing the ball up. Anytime there was pressure full court,
and he handled it.
Like he is fighting
and
to get the ball over.
The intensity he has to play at, and then to hit the shots in the fourth quarter. Anyway, we can go on and on. So I think what we should speak about today is very interesting. I think just the overall theme of AI right now and sort of the optics, the visuals we're seeing, the noise around AI. Let's start with just because I don't think it was I think there's been so much other headlines that this one it's out there, but it's not as, I think if there was less news events, we'd be seeing more of it. The Stanford graduation, right? And here's Google and you have I mean, if you pre-AI, Google comes, students are in.
Of course.
What did they do?
It's amazing. So again, we don't know the questions in advance, but it was on my mind. I read the articles and then I watched the video and I was like, wow, this wasn't like 3 kids that walked out.
No.
That's meaningful, especially it taking place at Stanford, at a place that is like truly foundational in technology and innovation. So I interpret that as like there's a strong, I don't even know that it's an undercurrent, you would call it that, with this level of participation. There's really strong feelings being created around this that are harboring obviously negatively. And I mean, it just cements the fact that there's real fear about the future and what this could do. You know, ultimately, like these students are historically before this, right? Like graduation day is an exceptional place. You're at, you know, the precipice of taking the next step to creating the life that you wanted professionally, whatever that's going to be. And it's like, I'm going to start out, and the speeches that are given are typically highly inspirational.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, things that are, and so the expectation, I'm sure, was that this was going to be an inspirational speech for these people. And the fact that they weren't even interested in listening to it, but so much so that they walked out is demonstrative in how, I guess it's fearful and resentful that they are about this.
Yeah, and I think what is interesting to me is even the way in which I think some of the most influential leaders with AI right now are they're tone deaf in a way.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
I get it, right? I mean, I think they're but just even some of the predictions, the outlandish predictions that they've had around how many jobs it's going to take, and putting out charts and graphs and studies, and I think is counter to what AI and the capabilities of how it can be used to really, again, like power people. But that's been one aspect to it, and they keep doubling down on it.
Right.
That's what I don't understand. You know?
I think it goes to, if everything has its mission, right? Every company has its mission. Every individual has its mission, their mission. And if you spend time thinking about like what actually drives them and where does that information, like what is the purpose of that statement? And I think if you distilled it down, a lot of them, it's a self-serving statement, right? What drives shareholder value?
Yeah.
Right, for companies that are in those positions. And what drives shareholder value at the point before you've proven anything is the dream that you're going to do much more than you're actually going to do. So I think in some respects, they might be crazy to not talk that way.
Yeah.
They'd be short holding shareholder value.
Well, I think though that's what I think. Again, because we're trying to focus on the worker.
Yeah.
Right, like when we think about us, like we're really trying to focus on what is in the best interest of the accountant at the individual level.
Very clearly, the singular mission, right, to improve the lives of the accountants.
Correct.
Right? That's the
and
mission.
I feel that should be the mission of, like, the AI companies too. Right. It's because here's what's going on. Because I think what I would look at is we should all be looking at how the younger generation is reacting right now, and reflect on that and think to ourselves, okay, what's really going on here, right? It's not just because you get these narratives, the stories get told. Oh, you know, it's every generation. To me, I believe represents a learning that we can really get from what are they telling us, because they are armed with the here and now.
Right.
Okay. And I feel just whatever, if you want to believe in the universe stuff or spiritual, whatever it is, like they're signaling something collective that is a symbol that we should look at and say, all right, what are they saying to us? Right. So I think, and it's been happening. We're not listening.
You're right.
And I just think, like, as a society, what we have to really look at is there's been a loss of hope in many people that are young. And that is where this has been heading, right? So like what we're seeing is that in many people, because when we think about like the shareholder value, and we live in a world where, you know, again, like we're not seeing so much of the everyday struggles that the many people have nowadays, right? Like what is going to be their upside? Can they afford to live? Like, when can I buy my house? Like all these things, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's been out there for a while, and it's sort of been caught like in other news events and stuff like that. Like it comes out once in a while. Prof G has done a great job with this.
Oh yeah.
And so his voice, he's been trying, right? But I think it was like we saw this as being heard.
Yeah.
Like these people a lot of people don't feel like they have the same upward trajectory as many did at one point in their lives.
It's fair because if you think about it, right, when you and I graduating, you kind of had a pretty clear path to what the future looked like, even though the future is always uncertain. You had the belief like, okay, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make my way at this firm or another firm, and you could see like, okay, I will very hopefully end up as a partner at this firm. That was one of my goals. That was what I wanted to do. And I'm sure others. When you have the largest companies leading the frontier models explaining that like it's all going away.
I know.
Like that universal statement, how can you expect them to take it any other way?
Well, and you look at the like entry-level jobs are the ones that are getting hit the hardest,
right? Because
that is the job that is the easiest,
of course,
to get rid of because it doesn't exist yet. So it's a lot harder to look at your existing company and then remove from there. It's almost like just hire less and then that'll be able to cut some of the payroll.
Yeah. There's messaging that's taking place that I believe is inaccurate. Every message about the future is like it has some inaccuracy. Right? It's all bet. It's what's going to happen. And I think that there's an overplay and an underplay of what the impact is going to be. I think there's an overplay of the immediacy of what's going to happen in the just in practice of what we think about. And our slant is obviously towards accounting, and we think about the accounting, the impact on the other industries is occurring and it's happening. But if we take legal, who's a little bit ahead of where the accounting industry is, are we seeing an issue with them hiring new attorneys, or are we seeing them being able to service more matters and becoming more profitable and providing more opportunity? And so if we use that lens now in accounting, what we've been saying is the same, that we believe that this is going to create more opportunity than it's going to remove. And I think that message deserves to be told broadly.
Yeah.
And so a funny example, I've had two conversations over the last week, one with actually both were CEOs who mentioned to me that they had been using Claude to do FP&A work. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's cool. Like, what are you learning? And they're like, it's pretty amazing. I was like, it is. It's really exceptional. And through our discussion a little bit longer, without going into too much detail here, one of them brought up something about a business unit and a specific thing. I was like, oh, did you model? And he's like, well, no, that's like that's work. Like, mm-hmm. Do you want that job? If you're the CEO, do you now want to figure that out? And is it something? And so what I'm seeing is there's still so much of a need for these things, and it makes this individual, that CEO that I'm mentioning, better because they're more well-informed and they actually understand what they want to know.
Yep.
And it makes the accountant delivering that better because they're able to deliver more quickly exactly what the individual wants. So I view it as like a very positive experience. And it's funny because I think the slant, when I had heard it, was kind of like, oh, there's not going to be a lot of stuff for you guys to do. And the truth is, it's creating more and more opportunity.
Yeah. I think ultimately what gets lost in all this is that I think you almost have to step back and just say to yourself, okay, with what's happening now, right? And this, superpower, is it going to create more or is it going to create less? And if the answer is it's going to create more, then the next thing I would say is, all right, well, then does GDP go up or down? And if GDP goes up, then what that would mean is that you're going to have more available for everyone, right? So that should lift everyone, right? But
there's careful work to be done there in the who it lifts.
Oh,
and those
totally.
Things.
But that's what's missing, and that's what. See, I feel that the new generation, like this emerging generation, is signaling that.
Yeah,
they're seeing that. They're signaling that, and be like, who's going to benefit the most from this? Because I keep seeing the top benefit really well, and the top does keep benefiting and benefiting and benefiting and benefiting. We're seeing it in our industry.
Yeah,
which we won't get too deeply into, but. With the private equity infusion and who's at the end of the day really benefiting from this versus the worker. And I think just that's why I'm so focused and you're so focused right now. Just like let's think about the worker and the experience of the worker and giving them the tools and just focusing there. And I think that is,
the mission of being as close to as singularly focused as possible on the accountant's life.
Yeah.
Makes it really clear, and it makes our decisions more easy. They're hard decisions, meaning they're difficult to come to terms with in the things that we're going to do and have done. But when that is the mission, it becomes much easier to make those difficult decisions. And I think the correlation or the difference when I think about private equity within our industry, and again, I'm generalizing, but this is my feelings. The largest shareholders of our firm have agreed to a singular mission, and we talk about it and we go through it regularly. And usually the largest shareholders get what they want.
Yep.
Public, private, universally. When the largest shareholder in the room has one singular mission and focus, which is return of capital to LPs, I believe there's a difficulty in making the right decisions for the accountant.
So I think all these things are really going to just help us just from like the brain is going to be clearer, right? And be able to have better, like, 'cause it's hard when you make those mistakes and you let people down.
Oh my God.
The client's screaming at you. It's horrible.
It's the worst days that I've lived are from things like that. And when we talk about the jobs are changing, the jobs are leaving, like, I would love to be at the point where when I get something to review, my first thing isn't skepticism over how correct it is. When the first part of your job is almost arguing about whether the thing is right.
Yeah.
Before you can even actually say, okay, if this is correct, now let's think about things that we can do to mitigate this. Like the dream of not having to spend an inordinate amount of time on that part.
Oh yeah, it's making sure, like at the most basic levels, does it capture all the information?
Right.
I mean, that has been our singular greatest challenge in the preparation of any tax return. Is it complete?
Right.
Does it have all of them?
Yeah, and if you think about the leaders of firms, if you enjoy that first half.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
I know.
That's not us. That's not I look at that as like, all right, I've got to do this. It's a necessary step, obviously, to deliver what we want to deliver. It's just such a frustrating part of the job.
It is.
That if there was a magic wand, something like AI.
Yeah.
If somebody could invent AI and it afforded you the ability to reduce the amount of time you have to do that, wouldn't it be wonderful?
Yeah.
And I don't believe that there'd be any shortfall of different client problems that would show up that we'd like. I've been lucky enough to never have the phone not ring.
Right.
And oftentimes it's like, okay, you've got to give me till Thursday and I'll be able to. And so it would be an amazing world to be able to say, I can do that today.
Yeah, right now.
I can do that tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I can get like those things. That would be just so good for the soul, the human, freeing. The accountant, anyway.
Yeah, no, let's stay there. So it's interesting because I think what's starting to come to light now is just the different ways companies are starting to use AI, right? So you have, so if you have all the existing companies now, right?
Yep.
And they're all making decisions how they're going to use AI, right? So that's one category. All existing businesses, let's say all existing businesses that were formed greater than 10 to 15 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. Then there's like more recent companies that were formed within the past 10 to 15 years. Let's say a lot of those are SaaS companies. Let's just say like very different models that have emerged. And then you have AI native companies, right? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting across those three, let's say, channels of the different population groups that you now have some evidence as to what's going on with AI, right? And work, right? So what they found, which is interesting is so the existing companies, a lot of them are still determining how they're going to use AI, right? The ones that are bringing AI in has been very fascinating because the most, let's say the ones that people admire the most, how they're using AI is not efficiencies only. Like they're not. They're prioritizing how can I make my product and service better.
Right.
So that's an interesting takeaway, I think, for many people is that the most admirable companies are thinking of AI as how can I make what I do and like what my customers want from me better.
So that's a really interesting take because I would have assumed it would have been the opposite, not knowing. And I guess it comes to AI is a limited resource, limited not in its capability, but for some respects, but limited in you can't shut your job off and just do this, right? So you've got to make bets in where you think it's going to pay off. It is really interesting that they're choosing to make the bet on their product becoming better by the utility of AI, as opposed to can we squeeze another $5 out of each?
And what's interesting, the ones that are, and again, like it's also a great strategical, tactical move to see how can you create efficiencies with AI, right?
Yeah.
But where the companies are that are making those decisions, and they are, let's say, quote unquote, the admirable companies, they're preparing for that, right? So they're understanding all the documentation that's going to be needed to like how work is getting done now. They're following people. They're documenting all of that. They are categorizing all of that. So it's not necessarily that they're just like throwing AI into it. They're understanding how things get done because they've never really had to worry about that thing at a more granular level, and you have to with AI.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing too, because that's what we've talked about is like the taking stock before you do any of this stuff.
You have to.
Even with respect, if we just went to the accounting, like take the stock, figure it out, what do you want to do? If I think about a company's operations, I had an example this week of one of the oldest companies that I work with, over 100 years old. And what they've recognized as they start to analyze their company, and not, again, in a cost-cutting measure, they've come to the realization that they have, in some cases, over 100 years of data on their buying customers. And this is a company that generates tons of data. And they've just come back to the table and said, we know the limitation of AI is because of the data it's able to ingest, right? It's run out of things to ingest. We have such a valuable thing here. Let's sit down, and we're sitting down with them in a week to figure out how do we turn this into a company in and of itself.
All right, so let's just talk about like the 10 to 15 year type companies that have been formed. So it's very interesting, and let's say that a lot of those are SaaS companies that they were speaking about, but with the SaaS companies, that the margins have been so large, right?
Yeah.
That they had the ability to hire a lot of people. What they're seeing is, wow, like first of all, this is, I think, again, a feather in the cap of the new generation. They work like, they're saying it's like crazy how they're working right now. And that they are powered, not only, they want to be lean, they're running from the get-go lean. Yeah. Right. So, and what they're doing is they're working hand in hand. Like it says, it's fascinating. You go in there and there's like whispering. They're not even keyboard typing anymore, right? Because they're like directionally giving what they want the AI agents to do on their behalf. So they could come in and
it's faster.
Like whispering going on. So it's like very interesting. Like it's captivating.
Yeah.
And they're just saying it's like for the more of the SaaS companies, it's like they're now trying to rethink their models. Like, is the margin sustainable that they've once had? If the margin isn't as sustainable, what does that do to the culture of the organization that's been run?
Yeah.
Where it's been extremely flexible, right? Like, so they're saying it's like, and many of them, they became quote unquote lifestyle companies.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. So I think about it like when I started here at WIS, we did like traditional companies, manufacturers, distributors, and I understood what margin was and I got it. And I still remember in like the early 10s going out to my first few software companies and being like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, again,
it was
I
a
had
different
no
culture,
experience
different
with
world.
it, right? Yeah. And then you're dumb to everything until you're not. I started reading. I was reading public company reports, and I'm like, oh my.
Yeah.
So seeing that margin was
that's
just
it. That's
shocking.
why they can have beautiful refrigerators.
Right.
Remember, like we would walk in because we were so used to for years working in environments where it was like you were lucky there was a soda machine.
Yeah, it was different. It was different.
I mean, it's palpable, right? Like, and I think what they're saying though is just that there's an extreme advantage what they're seeing with the AI native. Now again, these are emerging kind of events, right? So are they sustainable? Can people work at that pace? All that, right? So there's always the balancing out of things. But I think the lean approach is not going away. Like that is a trend.
So
for sure. That is an absolute trend, and for many reasons, right? Like it's possible, and I think just because it's possible, you're just going to see more.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get a competitive advantage if you run it that way. I also think that when the other noteworthy item here is that the AI native companies are dealing with bigger company problems earlier, right? So when they were looking at sort of the venture capital and what the venture capital firms are starting to do is providing much more resources early on for these companies because they're dealing with big company problems very early on.
You mean themselves, like they're dealing with their own growth as a big company more quickly?
They're having big company problems because, like again, like they can have international issues right away, right? So you have international tax issues, you have cross-state tax issues, like just like that'll be more of a procedural type thing, but just like the scalability of these companies is rapid and it's lean, and it's just like they don't have a lot of people solving these problems as fast as they are growing. So they need support.
Yeah.
One of the things that's interesting just in terms of when you think about the accounting firm and when people are saying AI is going to take all the jobs, well, SaaS could have been the same thing. Like if we think about like SaaS is going to take all the jobs, right? Well, clearly that didn't happen because like again, the growth in a professional service firm for the most part has been linear from the standpoint of like as you grow you're adding people, right? But not only that, the linearity was also like your tech stack was increasing along with that, right? So your software, the number of tools that you had to use was increasing, which is kind of interesting,
right,
to the business model because your people stack, if you will, is increasing and your tech stack's increasing. So it's just like the economy benefited in all ways, right? And so that's the interesting kind of challenge now is that, when especially if the lens of the company matched the standard approach, which is as you're growing, you're adding more people, okay? Then you're not going to have as much disruption in the economy. You're actually going to just increase things overall, right?
Right.
What's going to be very interesting now is that if a company wants to remain lean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have like economic benefits for the economy.
Yeah.
It's just there's other people going to be providing that on their behalf, right? So this is where it all gets kind of confusing is how does that get disrupted and how does a company now approach that? Right? So they have to be more open-minded on partnerships, like thinking through like what's my core, what do I keep core to me, and what do I start to think differently about what should be on my P&L versus like in terms of payroll. So that I think is like the challenge. I think a lot of companies that were the 10 to 15 year that are going to compete up against some of the AI.
And it raises like a really important question, which is like valuation.
Yeah.
Right. If I think about those two companies and the way they're approaching a somewhat similar problem, I guess that's why it's so difficult to price AI right now and also extremely difficult to price SaaS.
Yeah.
Like we've seen, there was SaaS apocalypse, whatever you want to call it, for a period. And it seems like there was a big shakeout and then it's back, but it's on very slippery footing. And you've got the AI companies whose valuations, I continue to talk to investors and continuously they're like, we have no idea. And it's kind of, so some presumption would be without any other facts, like, oh, there's a bubble. But I don't know. I don't personally know how much I believe that it's a bubble if it's able to deliver on the things that, you just spoke about.
But I think the one thing that I want to just talk about before we end is that the piece that I found fascinating too is that the rate that we have to change our minds. And I just want to talk about that for a second, because one of the things that has been almost criticized socially, publicly, it's almost like if someone changed their mind, like if you think about like political candidates, that used to be a big deal, right? They changed their mind.
There's
and
a
like,
waffle.
The waffle, like, right?
Yep.
And then Malcolm Gladwell, I think, was one of the first people, at least I think from the perspective of someone that was publicly speaking about it, was like, changing your mind is actually a good thing. Like, why would you not want someone to change? Exactly. Why would you not want someone to change your mind if there's a better path, right?
That you knew all of the information when you made your mind up at that point.
Yeah.
So you've discovered no new information and changed your mind? That could be odd.
Yeah. There's no hard and fast prediction that you can just say. I mean, think about right now, like Anthropic versus OpenAI, right? We have no idea.
No.
Right? I mean, you have gut feelings and
sure.
But I think everything right now is like almost give yourself grace. I mean, I really feel like we have to give ourselves grace that it's going to continue to change. We're going to continue to talk about things that 3 weeks from now we're going to be like, well, yeah, we were wrong about that.
Of course,
you know?
Of course. Well, you have to take a stance for something when you're asked a question.
Yeah,
and so like that's an important factor. So I'll ask you a question that I think is interesting right now and pointed out where you started this discussion about the Stanford walkout.
Yeah.
There's been the discussion around pausing AI. And I'd imagine you saw Anthropic. Now, when I go into Claude, all of a sudden it says, Fable's not available. You're going to use, and part of me, the part that wants the whoopee and the clean is like, oh, that's a good thing. That's helpful. And then other parts of me are like, we're limiting what's the potential here. And just, I don't want to leave you totally out on I feel like there's governance required and there's thinking required behind this. But what would your thoughts be on that? Because I do think it's directly correlated to the Stanford walkout.
I think that it is a very deep question. I think because right now I just think as a society that again, if the U.S. is going to have the heart of the world, let's hope that it will, then we don't want to delay too long.
Yeah.
We want to win.
Yeah.
We want to win this race.
Yeah.
Okay. I think ultimately there is something comforting around the pause that you want to make sure it's safe.
Yeah.
For 100%.
Yeah.
Right. So I do like that. I just don't want it to be politically charged.
Well, that's the problem is
and
like
it
the
feels
discourse.
that way. Because if it was the other company, I'm not sure that they would be doing that.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's very fair.
Yeah.
And I think that the discourse publicly needs to be more around things like that and less politically driven.
Yeah, and again, look, and we can go into this, but like this, we really have big problems to solve.
Yeah,
that we really need to start talking about, and it's no different than Waymo coming into New York City and how it would disrupt taxis, right, and Uber drivers and Lyft drivers and everything else, right,
and freight trucks and
LTL so drivers. These are a lot of jobs that are held by young, Americans, and they'll be displaced out of job. Like all these are big questions, but we know the worst thing you can do is regulate.
Right, I know
the innovation, right? But they're problems that we have to somehow solve. I think everything's solvable.
Me too.
I mean, and I think if you worked with Google or whoever, I think you can solve it.
Right.
But I think that what we have to be careful of is just that the messaging has to be that we are. Right now, the messaging is being almost too anti the innovation, and it's almost like Waymo is a bad person. No, they're not. It's an incredible thing, And at the end of the day, if it makes life safer for people, I mean, and it costs less, and it's just like I don't know. I think that those are the things that are what are ultimately the drivers of how we should make decisions.
Yeah. And you talk about safety in terms of just the physical human safety, very important. Elon, a few days ago, I saw him speaking that there's Tesla insurance now that if you agree to and they monitor full self-driving, your insurance costs will be less than half of what it is because it's become so safe.
Yeah.
And so in a world, obviously, physical safety is the most important thing. And then secondarily, the part that I think isn't spoken about at the right levels is the actual financial safety of people. And it's a very important thing. And I think that that's something that should be thought about more alongside of this.
And there's ways to do that.
There are.
There are ways to do that. And Google would be happy to participate. But I think, but when we think about what it allows, I think we just can't lose sight of like possibilities, right? And so when you just think, I'll leave it this, but if you think of the possibility of what the city could look like, if you have automated self-driving that for the most part is highly safe, okay? Yeah. What it does to the inner workings of the city, the pedestrians, the bicyclists, the people on scooter, like everything is going to be beautiful. Like you can create such a more vibrant like culture within the city if you did that. I mean, I sure as heck would rather have the computer that has 360 peripheral vision driving through when I'm crossing the street. Some flustered person trying to make it to a meeting that's running late, and is also getting texts,
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Anyway.
This conversation was great. It was definitely off of our typical beaten path, but I think it was a very necessary kind of just almost a venting or discussion around.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of color.
There is.
A lot of color.
What's pressing right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on This Week in Accounting AI. If you found this useful, make sure to follow us. On Spotify, smash that follow button on our show page. And on Apple Podcasts, tap the plus sign and leave us a quick rating while you're there. I'm Paul Peterson. See you next week.